All right, recording in progress. So let me just fix this real quick. Okay, so as we've been doing every Wednesday for the last few weeks, Mike Ferry has his 21-point sales system. And what we've been doing is each week going over each point and writing down a bunch of notes on those particular points. So we've gone through points 1 through 4 in the last 4 weeks. Point 5 in the sales system is follow-up. So we're going to talk about lead follow-up today. All right. So this is being recorded. I have no idea what that means, but it's being recorded. I would recommend you taking out some sort of note-taking material, pen, paper, write notes on your computer, just in case we have no idea where this recording goes. So let's talk about this. All right. Lead follow-up. So before we talk about lead follow-up, we have to first define what a lead is. So here's the definition of a lead. A person who will sign a contract within blank days. A person who will sign a contract within blank days. Now, the blank is you have to decide how many days that is. There's no right or wrong answer to that. So some of you might say, well, someone who will sign a contract in the next 7 to 10 days. Well, if you're producing at a really high level and you have enough business, you can say 7 to 10 days. And if not, I'm moving on to find somebody else. But if you're not producing at a really high level, you might need to extend that out to 14 days, 30 days, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, whatever the case may be. And I want you to know there's no wrong answer because everybody is at a different place in their real estate career. So if you think, well, 7 to 10 days, that's too short. Is there something wrong with me? No, everyone's at a different place in their career. So there's no right or wrong answer, but you have to first define what that time frame is. If you don't define what that time frame is, what you get is a bunch of leads that are just leads. And there's no definition on them. You don't know when they're going to sign a contract. There's no urgency to get them moving forward. And then you're just bombarded by a bunch of stuff. Okay, so you first have to define to yourself what a lead is. Okay. So the next point I wrote down here, this is pretty simple. You have to be fanatical about your lead follow-up. You have to be fanatical. Now, if you don't like the word fanatical, put aggressive. Okay, whatever word you want to put in front of it, you have to be that about your lead follow-up because they gave you their name and number for a reason. Typically, if you go door knocking, do people you don't know just say, hey, look, I'm not looking to sell, but here's my name and number. Give me a call if you ever just want to chat. Does that happen? If it does, don't call those people. Hey, we got some problems. They give you their name and number because they are interested in something with real estate. Maybe it's selling, maybe it's buying, maybe it's something they're interested in doing this week, maybe it's something they're interested in doing in a few months, and they just want to have your name and number, or they want you to give them a call because they might be ready in a few months. But the point is they gave it to you for a reason. So if they give that to you, that is a buying sign. You need to then be fanatical and aggressive because I wrote down here, you are not the only person they gave their number to. So if you are not fanatical or aggressive about lead follow-up, you will lose the deal because whoever else they gave the number to will also be aggressive and fanatical about their lead follow-up. Think about this. There was a study done in Orange County. Now, this study was, I think, 6 or 7 years ago. So take it for what it is, but it wasn't done 30 years ago. So fairly recent, 6, 7 years ago. They said on average, a person is in contact of some capacity with 10 real estate agents before they actually move forward with a real estate transaction. Now, that could mean that they were contacted over the phone, they were contacted at the door, they met them at an open house, they were referred to them, whatever the case may be. But 10 real estate agents in contact with some capacity before they enter into a real estate transaction. So you keep that in mind, that if I have a lead, 9 other agents also have that information. And if you keep that thought in your mind, I'll bet you get very fanatical, very aggressive about your lead follow-up. Because you have to keep that in mind. The other thing you have to remember about the fanatical or aggressive part of lead follow-up is it fair to say that every single person knows a real estate agent or someone that has a real estate license? That's fair to say, right?
Yes.
So not only are you competing against other agents that are prospecting, emailing, calling, open houses, all these other different things, you're competing against the fact that somebody in their phone has a real estate license. Somebody that they're following on social media has a real estate license. So you have to keep that in mind too. They have another option. Now you might be thinking, well, yeah, it's a past client. So yeah, I'm the guy or gal with their real estate license. I guarantee they have somebody else. Guarantee cousin Ricky has a real estate license. Guarantee it. That's my biggest fear actually at the end of the year, is when people say, call me back in January. And we go, okay, and we think we have all these leads in January. My biggest fear is that Thanksgiving parties, Christmas parties, Hanukkah parties, holiday parties, whatever the case may be, is they find out one of their family members has a real estate license. My biggest fear every year. So they know somebody. So again, if you're not fanatical, if you're not aggressive, they have other options to find another real estate agent, and they actually won't have to find it. The other agent will present itself to them at some point. So I wrote down here next, you have to decide what your definition of fanatical is. What is your definition of fanatical? Because everyone, again, is going to be different. So I'll give you a couple of examples. So Mike Ferry has the 7 days to convert a lead to an appointment. You have 1 week, you have a lead, you have 1 week to convert that lead to an appointment, and you're going to follow the 3-3-3 rule. You're going to follow up 3 times. Let the phone ring for 3 seconds. Okay, I'm not going to leave a message. Got to get them on the phone. And you can call them up to 3 times a day. That's his definition of a fanatical lead follow-up. So let me give you another option, okay? Here's my thought. Another option on lead follow-up, what I would say fanatical aggressive, is every week, whatever day you start your week, Sunday or Monday, whatever day you're planning, is lay out all your leads, whether it's on 3x5 cards or on a sheet or whatever the case may be. Lay out all your leads and put where are they at in the process, meaning that, okay, seller lead need to follow up to set an appointment. Buyer lead needs to get pre-approved. Okay, whatever they're at in the process. You have 1 week to get them moving forward to the next step in the process, meaning that they don't have to already be signed. They don't already have to be an escrow, but they have to be the next step. So for example, you have that seller lead. It's a seller lead. I need to set an appointment. I need to schedule an appointment. So you have to contact them 5 times to schedule that appointment. If it takes you 5 times, up to 5 times. phone call, text message, phone call, whatever the case may be. So then the next week comes along and you look at this lead and, okay, well, last week they were at, I have to follow up to set an appointment. Did I get an appointment set? No, move on. You had 1 week to move them one step and didn't work. There's something missing. I'm moving on. Now, if it's, yes, I set the appointment. I haven't done the appointment, but the appointment is set for this upcoming Thursday. Great, keep the lead. You move them one step. The buyer needed to get pre-approved. Okay, next week they need to get pre-approved. Well, they got pre-approved. Great. I haven't shown them property yet. We're not in escrow, but they've at least moved forward to the next step. Is another thought on aggressive lead follow-up. But you have to decide for yourself what is fanatical, what is aggressive. But you can't be super amiable and say, well, my version of aggressive lead follow-up is I call them once a week for 13 weeks. And if they don't do anything at that point, then I guess they're not going to do it. All right, well, then we need to have a discussion about fanatical or aggressive lead follow-up. But it's got to be aggressive, just has to be. I wrote down here next, 70% of your appointments will come from lead follow-up, not from your first contact. That's why you hear Neil say all the time, prospecting is lead generating, lead follow-up is appointment setting. Very rarely do you call someone and you set an appointment on the first call. That turns out to be a really qualified appointment. Why? Because most of the time there's more than one decision maker. So you call it just listed. I just listed a property. You know, when do you plan on moving? You go through the script. When do you plan on moving? Well, we're thinking about it. Okay, great. How about I come over? You go through the script. How about tomorrow at 6? Yeah, tomorrow at 6 is great. Then you follow up to do the pre-qual, and the other person, the decision maker, has no idea. Oh, don't come over tomorrow at 6. We got to discuss this. Most of it will be, yeah, we're interested. Call me back tomorrow. Let me talk to X, 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 and X, whoever that may be. So if you keep in your mind that lead follow-up is predominantly going to be 70% of your appointments, you will then automatically be more aggressive. Okay. Now, I wrote down here next, Mike Ferry 101. Remember, the most important part of a lead follow-up program is a large trash can near your desk. Mike Ferry 101. The most important part of a lead follow-up program is a large trash can near your desk. You must accept the fact that you will cycle through a large number of leads to achieve your goal. You're going to get a lot of leads that won't turn out to be anything. That's not always necessarily a lead follow-up problem. That's just the way it goes. But that's why you have to define what a lead is and then be aggressive so you can either move these leads forward or throw them away. Okay. Or if you want to, if you have some really bad leads and you have agents that you don't like, give them to them. That's always another option. You know, I don't like this person. Hey, I got some leads for you. They'll enjoy it. What are you going to do? Have some fun. No one said this can't be fun. All right. Good job. Good job. Good job. But on that point, we have to learn to throw leads away because the better we become at building our business, the fewer leads we will need. We have to learn to throw leads away because the better we become at building our business, the fewer leads we will need.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
You mentioned don't leave voice messages, but I just got a call back from leaving a voice message for a future buyer whose husband, the lady's husband has a business that once this business continues to grow, they're willing to purchase. And she asked me to keep in touch. So, but you're saying don't leave voice messages.
Most of the time, Andrea, and that's great. So sometimes it may work. Most of the time, people will call you back if they see a missed call more than they'll listen to your voicemail and call you back. Now, in this particular case, it worked out. So maybe you leave voicemail. If it's a past client center of influence, you definitely leave a voicemail. If it's a lead,
cold call.
Yeah.
It's a cold call.
Most of the time, I mean, look, there's no right or wrong answer to that. Statistically, typically we find that we don't get many phone call backs, but look, I mean, if it works, then give it a shot. It's not like it's a detriment major to your business if you leave voicemails. But most of the time, what happens is that people listen to the voicemail and go, yeah, I'm not interested. As opposed to they see who they got a missed call and they'll call, they have a better chance to call and say, hey, I got a missed call from you. What do you want? And then I at least have a chance to talk to them. But look, again, no right or wrong answer. If you want to leave voicemails and it works, God bless you. There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all.
Got it. Thanks.
All right, cool. Cool. Now the question comes up a lot is how many leads do I need for a transaction? If I'm throwing leads away, how many leads should I be keeping? Well, this is where tracking your numbers comes into play. Because you'll need to decide, you'll need to figure out how many leads do you typically need to get a transaction. So some of you, depending on where you're at in your business, because a lot of your stuff might be past clients, centers of influence, or things like that, maybe you need 2 or 3 leads for a transaction. Some of you might need 5, some of you might need 10. And I'm here to tell you, there's no right or wrong way to that. This is another one of those things. Some people, we have some agents in our company that produce very, very well that need 10 leads for every transaction. So the goal is, okay, well, then you have to get a lead a day and then go through those 10 to find the one, but you have to carry a certain amount of leads. You know, we work on reducing that, but you have to figure that out. How many leads on average lead to a transaction? And then keep that in mind that I always have to carry that many leads. But then in order to carry that many leads, I'll have to throw some away as well, because I always have to carry that many new leads. So that's the key too. All right, so I wrote down here next, most agents have too many leads, and the disadvantage of having so many leads are the following. Here's the disadvantage of having too many leads. Number 1, the bad leads hide the great ones. The bad leads hide the great ones. Let me give you an example. And this is real stuff I've had on coaching things in the past. You have a bad lead that you're continuously following up on, and we get in our head that they're going to do it. They're going to do it, Robert. I'm telling you, they're going to sell. They're going to buy. And I'll say, okay, even if they do, how many leads are you losing in the process of getting this person to buy or sell? And then what happens is that 6-7 months later, they finally, oh, I told you. How many hours did you spend over the last 6 or 7 months on that one that you could have gotten some more better ones? So sometimes the bad leads are hiding the great ones. I wrote down here next, if most of our leads are not great ones, the urgency for lead follow-up is diminished. If most of our leads are not great ones, the urgency for lead follow-up is diminished. We don't follow up aggressively because in our head, we realistically know this is not a great lead. But we also don't want to go prospect more. So we then also convince ourselves that these leads are really great. It's amazing the stuff we have going on inside our head on a regular basis. And we're all guilty of it, present company included. Okay. And I put down here, remember, you will get what you're looking for, either an appointment or a future lead. If you're looking for an appointment, you'll find one. If you're looking for a lead, you'll find one. You know, this is one of the reasons I try to explain this to when I'm recruiting, agents don't get sometimes. How do your agents get so many listings? Because we have our average listings per agent is much higher than the competition. How do you get so many listings? You know, and part of it's skills, things like that. But part of it is just the mindset that we're constantly thinking about listings. We're constantly talking about listings. We're constantly working towards listings. So when you're constantly in the mindset of, I need a listing appointment, you're going to find appointments. Leads are the same way. If you constantly have that mindset, I need a lead today. That's what I need. I need a lead today. You have a better chance of finding one than just saying, well, we're going to prospect and hopefully I can find a lead. Okay, sometimes it's a mindset thing. Okay, I wrote down here next on lead follow-up. This is the biggie. Okay, so this is one of those you should underline, highlight, put a star next to whatever. We have to remove the thought I can take a non-motivated person and through long-term follow-up, make them motivated. We have to remove the thought, I can take a non-motivated person and through long-term follow-up, make them motivated. This is pure ego. Nobody, not Neil, not Mike, not Grant Cardone, or any other great salesperson you know or like, can take an unmotivated person and through constant lead follow-up, make them motivated. It's just not going to happen. But sometimes we do that, or we'll get on, how do I convince them to sell? Why do they want to sell? Well, you know, they don't really have a great reason. Well, then how the hell are you going to convince them to sell? What are we thinking? And we've all been guilty of it. I've been guilty of it with recruiting. I gotta, we gotta recruit. I'm following up on them. Why do they want to move? They don't. They love their current office. They have no reason to move. They're not looking to grow their business. What the hell are you doing? How are you going to convince someone who doesn't want to grow their business to grow their business? Makes no sense. So we've all been guilty of that at times, right? It's pure ego. You have to remove that thought, which is why you need to figure out their motivation instantly. Let me give you a little hint. I want to sell because the market's high is not motivation. I want to sell because the market's high is not motivation. Your following question should be, what are you going to do with the money? You have to determine their motivation, but you cannot, through lead follow-up, make them motivated. You can't just tell them over enough. If I tell them that the market's really hot enough, they'll finally get it. Why do you want to sell? What are you going to do with the money? But again, we're all guilty of it, myself included. So we have to remove that thought. It's ego. Ego, ego, ego. I had to really learn this from coaching. Tell you what, when I first started coaching, truth is, that was something I had to learn. And here's what I mean. I find myself as a pretty positive, pretty energetic, pretty motivating person. And my thought was always, well, look, I can get these people motivated. These people are down. They're not motivated to do the work. I can do it. And let me tell you something, no matter how good I thought I was at motivating people, if they don't want to be motivated, they're not going to be motivated. And boy, did I take a good shot to the ego on that. It is what it is. It is what it is. Okay. Now, one of our fears that we have in doing lead follow-up is asking for a person's motivation because they may not be motivated. And then we realize we don't have a real lead, which then means we have to prospect, and prospecting sucks. But you have to get through it. You have to get through that. Ask for their motivation, find out if it's a real lead. But I wrote down here, find out if it's a real lead faster. The key to lead follow-up is the word fast. Find out if they're motivated faster so you can either move forward or move on. Get them to an appointment faster. Get them to a consultation faster. How do they say follow up in 3 days. How do I get them to an appointment in 1? Today's Wednesday. They want to meet me on Saturday. How do I get them to meet me tomorrow, Friday? Faster is the key. Faster. All right. I wrote down here next, remember that lead follow-up is like prospecting. It's a numbers game. It's a numbers game. Not every lead's going to convert, which is why you're going to need more leads. And the more leads you have with the better lead follow-up you have, you'll get more business. Pretty simple. I wrote down here next on lead follow-up, leads have no actual value. Leads have no actual value. Appointments and contracts have value. So the objective is to turn them into appointments as soon as possible or to get rid of them. Here's what I want you to write down under this point. It's not money until it's money. It's not money until it's money. And here's what I mean by that is sometimes we get so many leads that we do the, okay, got some leads, which means I've got some deals coming in, and we take a sigh and we don't hit the phones as hard, or we go into service mode for leads. I'm trying to get these leads, but I'm sorry, because there's money coming in. It's not money until it's money. So you have leads. Okay, I got to take a sigh of relief. No, you have to go generate more leads. But I have leads. Yeah, but they're not money. What if none of those leads turn into money? And then you've had all this time and you haven't been hitting the phones or the doors as much. And you don't have more leads. So you have to keep in mind, no matter how many leads you have to lead generate every day. And you have to then lead follow up every day on those new leads. No matter how many leads you have. Because there's no actual value to the lead. Which, as Mike Ferry would say, ask yourself the question, is my mindset managing leads or going on appointments? What's the mindset? Okay. I wrote down here next, the primary purpose of our lead follow-up is to keep reselling them on an appointment, not just to keep building rapport. The primary purpose of our lead follow-up is to keep reselling them on an appointment, not just to keep building rapport. You always have to keep the end goal in mind, which means I wrote down here, your lead follow-up, you should be asking questions that get you to the end result, not asking questions just to ask questions. That's building rapport. Building rapport is asking questions just to ask questions. You need to ask questions on lead follow-up that get you to the end result. Here's an example. A question to ask would, what do you need to hear from me in order to make a decision on whether or not you're going to list your property this week? That is a question that's with the end result in mind. Not a question of, well, I'm just trying to ask questions to keep the conversations going. So what do you like so much about Seattle? That's just building rapport. Keep the questions end game. Okay. Oh, I know. Okay, great. Well, I know you want to wait because you're thinking maybe to sell in January. If we could get you moved in the next 30 days, would that cause you a problem? End game resulted. Okay. Not, oh, you want to move in January. Okay, great. Oh, because you got the holidays coming over. So do you have family coming over for the holidays? What are your holiday plans? Those are asking questions, but they're not end game questions. It's about reselling them on an appointment, not to just build rapport. I wrote down here next, since we all have the same leads, thinking they are going to get better with age makes no sense. Since we all have the same leads, thinking they're going to get better with age makes no sense. So this goes back to that study that the average person is in some form of contact with 10 agents before they enter a real estate transaction. So the longer it goes, it's not becoming a more qualified lead, it's becoming a less qualified lead because they're now in more and more conversations with other people, which means you're yesterday's news. Okay. They're not going to get better. They're not going to come to their senses. We move on, go find somebody else. I wrote down here under lead follow-up. Think about this. Keep this in mind when you're doing lead follow-up. When it comes to getting more aggressive and getting them to an appointment or throwing them away. In LA, San Bernardino, Orange, Riverside County, which is the 4 counties that we predominantly cover, the population of adults is 18 million. So here's the thing. If you have a lead and you do aggressive lead follow-up and you find that they're not really motivated, throw them away and you have 17,999,999 other people that are adults in those 4 counties. Could one of them be interested in buying or selling real estate today? Of course. Now, I'm not telling you that if you live in Arcadia to go prospect Palm Springs. Okay, that's not what my point. My point is that there's such a large amount of people in whatever surrounding area that you work. So you have to keep that in mind with lead follow-up, is that we live in a very highly populated area. I don't need to be so attached to these leads as long as I can honestly say I did aggressive lead follow-up. I asked all the right questions. I was super professional. I showcased all my skills. They're not ready. No problem. There's way too many people that live here. I have to be able to find someone. You have to keep that thought in your head on lead follow-up. Okay. I wrote down here next. How much business are you losing, which is a new word I just came up with. I haven't quite figured out the definition yet, but I'm working on it. How much business are you losing? Not losing. How much business are you losing from not doing great lead follow-up? How much business are you losing from not doing great lead follow-up? I wrote down here, we lose more business from not following up than we do from over follow-up. And it's not even close. We lose way more business from not following up than we do from over following up. Very, very rarely do agents say, oh yeah, lead called me and they said, you're way too aggressive. Does it happen? Yeah, of course it does. But sometimes that just means that we didn't do enough pre-qualifying on the lead in general to find out that they're that motivated or that they want us to call them. Okay, now let me give you a hint. Some of you might need to hear this. If they tell you that they don't want to talk to you anymore, don't talk to them anymore. I know, heavy stuff. But that's the only time we get complaints. That's the only time we get complaints. The only time we get complaints. It's never that, hey, I'm interested in selling my house and your agent just follows up with me every day. We don't get that complaint. We only get complaints when they said, I told your agent to stop calling me and they keep calling me. So lead follow-up rule. If they tell you don't call me, don't call them. That's just trying to help. But we don't get complaints that, yeah, no, I'm interested in selling. I'm interested in buying. Your agent's calling me all the time. We don't get those complaints. We don't get the complaints from the over follow-up. But you don't get the business from the under follow-up because they'll work with somebody else. Biggest reason, this is true, based on studies that the NAR does, the biggest reason people don't go with the same agent that they've used before is because they never hear from that agent, or they hear from other agents more often. So it's the same thing with lead follow-up. I didn't work with you because I heard from you, on that initial call. You left me a message the next day, but I heard this agent was all over it. They were calling me, they were emailing me, they were sending me information. Don't lose a deal from under follow-up. Don't do it. All right. I wrote down here on lead follow-up, part of your lead follow-up system is you have to have a place to put all of your leads that is somewhat organized. So here's what I mean. You can't have Post-it notes all over the place of leads. That's not going to work. And some of you might think, well, no, I wouldn't do that. And then I get on coaching calls with some of you and I'll go, hey, what happened to this person? You're like, oh, thanks for reminding me. I shouldn't know your leads better than you. Happens every week. You have to have a system for where do your leads go. Do you have, are you using 3x5 cards where they go on a 3x5 card and then you have them stacked on your desk? Do they go in your computer system? Do they go in your calendar, your CRM, whatever the case may be? There's no right or wrong answer to this question, okay? But you need to have some system to where the leads go so you can remember the next day, I have to follow up with these leads. Maybe they go on a whiteboard or whatever the case may be. But you need to have some system. You can't just have leads written down on notepads or Post-it notes or anything like that. It's just not going to work. It's just not going to work. You'll lose leads. All right, I wrote down here next on lead follow-up. When you get a new lead, write down the expiration date of that lead. Write down the expiration date on that lead. Meaning that if I don't convert this lead by this date, it's an expired lead and I'm throwing it away or giving it to somebody else to see if they can convert it. As Tony Smith would say, have you ever had a 1-year anniversary with a lead? Who gets who flowers? But you have to write an expiration date. Otherwise, we think the lead's good forever, and it's not. If you write an expiration date, you'll be more urgent. Don't make your expiration date 6 months. Well, when is the expiration date? 2023. No. Sooner. Sooner. Write an expiration date. Also, when you get a lead, write down what the possible commission is on that lead. Now, I know, Robert, we're not doing it for the money. Yeah, sure. Don't give me that crap. Or, don't put the money on it. We're not doing it for the money. Now, yes, do we get the benefit of helping people? Of course we do. But are we going to do it for free? No. Come on, be honest. Let's be honest with each other. We're all adults. So write down the commission that you might get from this lead. Because again, we're all adults. Let's be realistic. The more money, probably the more aggressive you'll be with that lead. So write it down. How much is that lead worth? I'll bet for some of you, based on your areas, you write that down, you're going to see some large numbers. And it's like, holy cow, I don't want to let this one slip away. Okay, so write that down on the leads as well. Your expiration date, how much money you're going to get from it. Put all that stuff in there, It'll make a difference. It'll make a difference. All right, a couple more points here on lead follow-up. Keep your leads accessible to you at all times. Keep your leads accessible to you at all times. So for example, if you're using 3x5 cards, don't just leave your 3x5 cards at your desk. If you leave the office, you have to keep them with you. If you're using a computer system, you have to be able to access that system from your phone, because you don't know when a lead is going to call you back or when something's going to come up for a lead. So here's an example. Okay, you have a seller lead, and they're kind of, they're a little on the fence. That they're really interested to see what the home down the street sells for. Okay, before they make a decision on what they want to do. And all of a sudden, you get the notice that that property closed at $950, which is the price that seller was hoping for. You want to be the first one to call that seller. It's that seller lead. Hey, I just got the news that the one down the street closed for $950, which is what you wanted. So why don't I come by at 6 o'clock? We could talk about getting yours listed. You want to be the first one to make that phone call, not the fifth one to make that phone call. Because remember, everyone else has the lead. So you want to be the one that updates them. But if you don't have your leads with you at all times, you might not have their number. You might not even be thinking about them. Or what if it's a buyer lead and you're driving around and you see a for sale by owner sign and you stop, because you're going to stop, right? You're going to stop when you see for sale by owner sign and you realize that it's a perfect house for one of your buyers. What are you doing right now? I'm at a for sale by owner. Can you come by? If not, you have the owner right there, schedule time. But if you don't have your leads with you at all times, then you can't do that. And then maybe someone else sees that for sale by owner and they get their buyer in there. You have to keep your leads with you at all times, accessible at all times. You just never know when the deal's going to come through. Okay. All right. Now, the next thing I wrote down here is strictly a personal thing. So take this for what it is, but I wrote this down in terms of lead follow-up. I would suggest doing the first thing you do in the morning is doing lead follow-up. That's my suggestion. Doesn't make it right, but that's my suggestion. So the question is, well, why? Why, I got to call expireds first. Well, let's backtrack here. Other than probably 2 or 3 of you, none of you are supposed to be calling expired because you're not doing the expired work. But I know that's not going to stop you because it never has before. So, well, Robert, I got to call expireds first. Okay. So let's think about this for a second. Okay. We've identified that lead follow-up is your big money maker, right? That's your big money maker, is getting leads to an appointment. Typically, when is your mindset the strongest, your energy the highest, and your motivation the highest? The morning. I'll just talk to myself. The morning. So if my energy is the highest, my motivation is the highest, my focus is the highest, shouldn't I then call my profitable people at that time? That's what seems to make sense to me. Because let's be honest, if you prospect, and I'm just using this as arbitrary numbers, your prospecting time might be different. If you prospect from 9 to 11:30, hammering expireds and just listeds and things like that, at 11:30, do you have the same level of energy and excitement and enthusiasm as you did at 9? Be honest. No. So now I'm going to call my lead follow-ups with lower energy, lower enthusiasm, lower motivation, and a worse mindset. So I'm calling my money makers at my worst time. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I want the leads to get my best because that's my best chance at a deal. And if I need to make some calls at 11:30 when I'm a little bit beat, that's when I'll call an expired because the chances of me getting them are very low anyways. That's when I'll call a just listed, a just sold. Just the thought you have to think of. That is just a thought you have to think of with lead follow-up. Okay, again, that's my own personal thing. So take that for what it is. All right, and then the last 2 points I wrote down here, prospecting without good lead follow-up is a waste of time. Prospecting without good lead follow-up is a waste of time, meaning that you spend all this time prospecting, you go through rejection, you take a beating prospecting, and then if you're not going to do good lead follow-up, all that prospecting was a waste. What a disappointment that is, that you went through all that. Prospecting without good lead follow-up is a waste of time. Don't make it a waste of time. And then I wrote down here last, let your prospects know that you're going to call them aggressively to demonstrate the type of service that you offer. The client says, wow, you're really aggressive. Isn't that what you want in a real estate agent? Don't you want me to be this type of aggressive with the offers that come in? Protecting your home, your equity, getting you the best deal possible. Isn't that what you want? Well, yeah, that's exactly what I want. That's what I'm demonstrating to you right now. Say that to them. Say it to them. Don't let them try to figure it out on their own. Show them that your aggression is a good thing, a positive thing, not a negative thing. There you go. All right. So that's what I got for lead follow-up. Questions on any of that stuff?
Yes, Robert.
Yes.
Regarding the aggressive follow-up, you get objection, seller tell you, don't call me anymore.
Then don't call them anymore.
No, I attended this Tony Smith finishing the year strong. The first part was Mike Ferry, 1 hour. The takeaway I got from him is, this is so good. I wrote down, he says, if somebody complain, you call them too much, you're too aggressive. This is what you say. You call them back, you say, I owe you an apology. I failed to tell you that my aggressive attitude toward an appointment is the same attitude I'm going to use aggressively to get your home sold once I get it listed. You do want an aggressive agent to handle the sale of your home, right?
Right. So I apologize. So I misunderstood that. If they tell you that you're too aggressive, then
Yeah.
that's one thing. If they tell you, hey, look, don't call me anymore, then don't call him anymore. Okay. And here's the thing. Here's the thing. A true story. Okay. True story. We're in the middle. Okay. We're in the middle of an issue. Okay. With that exact thing is a client told our agent not to call them anymore. And our agent said, okay, well, then I'll just show up at their house. It's a real thing. And we're in the middle of some stuff right now. So you have to be careful if they say, don't call me anymore. You have to be careful of that. Now, if they say, to your point, if they say, you know, God, Yvonne, you're a little too, I want to sell my house, but you're too aggressive. That's when you can then say, well, turn it into a positive and then do exactly what you did. So make sure that you, everyone on here, that you hear the difference. Is it
Okay, I got
too
the
aggressive,
difference.
or is it don't call me anymore?
Okay, they say don't call me anymore. Okay, I will not call him anymore. I will just send a card. Write this sentence, send it to him. Then I'm not calling him. I'll send him a card.
That's fine. Don't call. Don't show up to the house.
Yeah, got it. Because I
Okay.
was following up a good lead seller, he really ready to go to sell. And I was a little too aggressive. He told me, I will call you. But when I left door knocking, I saw him come home again. So I talked to him again. He said, I will talk to you. He said, I talked to you. But when he left, he didn't call me. So I knocked on his door. I saw he was home, but his wife answered the door. So he got mad at me. He said, Yvonne, before I said I was going to use you. Now I'm not going to use you anymore because you're too aggressive. And then he listed with somebody else and sold.
Yeah. But it happens. Like sometimes we're going to get too aggressive, and sometimes we have to explain to them the benefit of that. But
Hey,
you just
Robert.
have to be careful on, is it too aggressive, or don't call me anymore? Because I'm telling you, we're in the middle of something right now that's not going to go well from that exact thing. Yes, Michael.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, what is the legal, wrong about going to their door? I mean, I understand they can say so many things, probably to 100 agents, but if you go to the door, what legal, like you said, going to illegal right now, what is legally
Well,
wrong
you
there?
can go to the door. What's going on here is if they tell you don't call me anymore, and you then go to the door, the problem you're having with that is that they're actively told you don't call me, and so don't contact me. I don't want to be in contact with you. You then go to the door. They can then see that as, I forget the exact legal verbiage, but it's almost kind of like a
Harassment?
Yeah, harassment. Thank you. It's kind of like that. And we're going through something very similar to that. And so that's why you have to be very careful. If they say, don't call me or don't contact me, whatever the case may be, you have to really be careful of that. Now, if the complaint is different, to Yvonne's point, if they just say, gosh, I'm not considering working with you. I just think you're too aggressive. I don't like how aggressive you are. Then you can say, well, hold on, let me turn that into a positive. But you just have to make sure that they're telling you that you're too aggressive versus don't call me anymore. And then we take that as we're being too aggressive. If they say, don't call me or don't reach out to me, don't contact me, then we just have to, I'm telling you, you just got to accept it, that say, okay, no problem. Yes, Armin.
Don't you want an aggressive agent when I'm out there marketing your property?
Right. If they say you're being too aggressive. If they say you're being too aggressive, but if they just simply say, if it's not about aggressive and they just say, don't call me anymore, that's when we have to not do that. Otherwise, I'm telling you, we're in the middle of something right now for this exact issue.
Robert, what if you're calling, so everything went well, you dropped off the listing packet, everything's going well, and you're calling, left a voice message, nothing, call, left a voice message, nothing, call, left a voice message, and you're like, what's going on? Every month I'm doing this. So can I show up at the property and kind of knock and say, hey, I'm so sorry. I
because
just hope everything is
they haven't
fine.
specifically told you, don't call me.
All right.
Yes, if they're just not answering, they're avoiding you, then yeah, go to the door, try to get a hold of them. But if they specifically tell you, hey, don't call me anymore. I got your messages, Abigail. Don't call me anymore. Okay. Don't call them. Don't go to the door. Okay.
All right.
That's the point. That's the point. If they don't say anything, if they're just avoiding you or something like that, then yeah, you can go to the door, you can call, you can text, you can email, you do whatever you want.
I'll say, hey, are you alive? Is everything okay?
Yeah. Or if they just simply say that it's an aggressive thing, God, you're just too aggressive, I don't like that, then you can turn it into a positive. Where we get into trouble is when they specifically say, don't call me anymore. And we go, well, you know what? I'm going to go to the door. Or, well, look, I know, we assume that they say that because it's a aggression thing. So they say, don't call me anymore. And we go, well, I know you think I'm really aggressive, but let me tell you why that's a positive. No, if they specifically say, don't call me anymore, you can try to overcome it, but you're setting yourself up for a mass. If that client really wants to go for it, they're can turn into a problem.
Hey, Robert, I think that we're all saying about, hey, the aggressive thing is a positive thing, depending on the personality of the client, because if the client is a person that they don't like that aggressiveness, regardless what the script said, they're not going to take it, like she was saying before. So I know it's good script, but depending on the personality, some people don't like that.
Yeah. But that's why if they specifically tell you, don't call me, then just don't call them.
And Robert, do they really have a case? Because they didn't record.
I'm telling you, we're going through it. We're going through it right now.
But they recorded the conversation?
We're going through it right now. I'm telling you.
And that agent better get themselves a better attorney because
but here's the point. Here's the point, okay? To put a bow on that, okay? We're going through it right now. And there's a good chance that agent is going to lose. And it's not a couple bucks, okay? But even if the agent won, it's the time, the effort, the energy that you're now putting into this issue. Only because one person told you, don't call me anymore. And instead of just saying, okay, and go finding another lead, we said, no, hell with that.
Well, Robert, why would somebody, if they tell you not to call, you just don't call? I don't understand.
That's what I'm trying to say.
that's what I was going to say.
That's just kind of foolish. I mean,
I get it.
When I get a lead, I want to go eight touches, 8 weeks, 8 touches until they either tell me stop calling, stop coming over, or I don't want to talk to you. But once they tell me that, I'm pretty much okay.
I get it, and that's the point. Is that with lead follow-up? But you're exactly right, Armin. Is if they tell you don't call me, don't call me. But I'm just bringing that in because I'm telling you we're going through it right now. And so, and sometimes we see it as aggressive lead follow-up, and it's a problem.
Well,
All right.
hopefully that attorney can actually assist him and let him know that the tonality or the misinterpretation of the conversation that took place, instead of having it forego that he was harassing them.
Here's the point. Just don't do it. I get what you're saying, but if they tell you don't call me, just don't call them, and you don't have to worry about any of this stuff.
Oh, I won't even go that route.
Go find more people.
Exactly.
Go find more people. Okay.
Exactly.
So it's crazy. It's crazy stuff. All right. Good discussion. Good discussion. All right. It's 1:11. I'm way past James's prospecting time, so apologize for that. But this was a very valuable discussion, so I'm glad that we got to do that. All right, everybody. We got James doing some open mic right now. And then we have, what do we got? We got Riva at 2, Tess at 2:30, which means there's still some slots available this afternoon. If anyone wants to do open mic, let me know. But other than that, great job. Let's keep it going.